Welcome to Lola's Frugal Life Podcast. If you're on a mission to be more frugal with both your time and money, you're in the right place. In this podcast, we talk about topics that help enhance living a frugal lifestyle. The goal is to save time and money where we can so that we can use the rest on what matters most to us. We talk a lot about both time and money management so that we can waste as little as possible on both. We do this while also embracing a progress over perfection mindset. If that sounds good to you, then please stick around for the latest episode right after a few quick words from our sponsor. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lola's Frugal Life Podcast. Today is my weekly meal plan episode. This comes out every Wednesday. It's just a very quick, simple episode where I share with you what's on my meal plan for my family for the upcoming week. I do this because I think meal planning is so important. It's made my life so much easier since I finally got a meal plan process in place that works for me. I rotate a lot of meals and I add in things, new recipes when and if I have time. So there's definitely a lot of repetition over the course of time. I do also have a blog post every week that comes out the same day as this episode that has links to any of the recipes that I might mention in this week's meal plan. So this week's meal plan starts on Saturday, October 27th. So Saturday I'm going to be making pumpkin chili. This is from allrecipes.com. I think I mentioned in one of my previous episodes, this is one of those fall things that one of my daughters always is excited to have. It sounds as if it would be a vegetarian chili because it's called pumpkin chili, but it's not. It's a regular beef chili, but it has pumpkin in it and some pumpkin spices, so it just kind of gives it like a unique type flavor. We really like it a lot, so I'm going to be making that on Saturday, and I'm going to just do some boxed cornbread to go on the side with it. For Sunday, I'm going to be making Chef John's lasagna, which is from allrecipes.com. I really don't make lasagna often, but my family's been asking for it, and obviously I wasn't going to make it during the summer because I didn't want to heat up the house with the oven. So I'm going to make that this weekend. For the sauce in the recipe, I'm going to be making my own sauce, which is called Best Marinara Sauce Yet, which is also from allrecipes.com. It's a really easy to make homemade tomato sauce, and we really like it. And I think I'm going to try and maybe make some extra and like freeze some of it so that I can use it for other meals in the future. For Monday, we're going to be doing oven fried breaded pork chops, which is from skinnytaste.com. This is a really simple recipe where you just take boneless pork chops and you bread them. Well, you dip them in egg and then you bread them with a combination of panko breadcrumbs and crushed cornflakes, and then you just bake them in the oven. And as a side, I'm going to be making easy lo mein, which is from damndelicious.net. This is lo mein noodles with a bunch of vegetables in them, kind of like your typical like vegetable lo mein, so that goes really good with the pork chops. For Tuesday, we always do some type of Mexican theme meal on Tuesdays. This week we're doing sheet pan chicken fajitas. That recipe is from foodnetwork.com. It's just your basic sheet pan chicken fajita recipe, where you pretty much just cut up some chicken, peppers, and onions, some seasoning, and you bake it in the oven. It's baked or broiled, I forget. It might be broiled. Yeah, it's broiled in the oven. But either way, you make that in the oven, and then I'll serve that with some flour tortillas, and I usually now also make white rice with it because some people in my family like to make a bowl with the fajitas instead of putting them on like a tortilla. So that's what we will do for Tuesday. For Wednesday, I am making bacon wrapped barbecue shrimp. This is also from allrecipes.com. I always do some type of seafood meal on Wednesday, and this one had kind of dropped off my radar. I used to make it really frequently, and then I kind of had forgotten about it for some reason. Usually what I do is once I make a meal, I go ahead however many weeks until I want to make it again, and I put it on the meal plan on that day, but I must have just forgotten to do that with this recipe, and then it just kind of got lost. So bringing it back, like I've said before, when I make this, I don't actually wrap the shrimp. I just cut the bacon in pieces and layer it over the shrimp. It's just much easier, and it comes out just as good. And then as a side, I'm going to be doing vegetable fried rice. That one, I don't have a recipe to share. I'm just basically making some rice and cooking it up in a pan with some stir-fry vegetables and soy sauce and I usually scramble some eggs separately and then just mix them in at the end. So that is for Wednesday. For Thursday, we usually always do soup or breakfast for dinner. So this week we are doing easy clam chowder, which is from damndelicious.net. It's your typical New England clam chowder. It's really pretty quick and easy to make. So that is one of my favorite soups to make, and plus we all really like clam chowder in my house. And then I'll serve it with some of those like oyster crackers. And then the last meal for this week's meal plan is for Friday, October 13th. We're going to be doing hamburgers with oven fresh seasoned potato wedges. The potato wedges can be found on allrecipes.com. They're just like you basically take potatoes and you cut them into wedges. You put them in a Ziploc bag with some olive oil and some Parmesan cheese and other seasonings. You toss it around, bake it in the oven. They come out really good. For the hamburgers, I don't have a recipe. I just make patties with ground beef and just cook it up in a frying pan. And then we usually do a can of pork and beans with that. We do hamburgers every other Friday. I used to do them on Monday. Now that I do them on Friday, and I'm actually really liking that transition, that switch in that part of my meal plan, because the meals that I used to do on Monday were super easy and now I have them on Fridays. So it's nice to have like a super easy meal to make at the end of the week. So I'm actually really liking that I made that switch. So that is it for this week's meal plan. I hope this helped or inspired you in some way. Like I said, all of these, any links to this to recipes that I mentioned and the full meal plan for every week of the podcast for my meal plan podcast can be found on my website at lolasfrugallife.com. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you back here next week. So thank you for checking in for this podcast episode. And don't forget, you can always email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at lolasfrugallife. And you can find a blog post for most of my episodes and definitely all of my meal plan episodes at lolasfrugallife.com. You can also join our private listeners group at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you would screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you can please take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast. Those ratings and reviews are what help the show come up better in search results so that other people can find this podcast. So that will really help me in growing my audience. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an awesome day.